I've often said that cooning is a career path that doesn't come with a retirement plan. That's not to say there isn't plenty of steady work, though. In fact, some of these clowns have been putting in overtime for free. One of our favorite $40 million slaves, Charles the Coon Barkley, is being given a 6-episode so-called show on TNT that is allegedly about race and politics. The name of this trash? The Race Card. With a title like that, and to put one of the premier coons in America as its host, this is obviously somebody's idea of a slap to the face of black people in general. Charles Barkley has been an unrepentant coon for decades now, and after TNT gave him a job, he's putting the buck dancing into high gear. Seems barely a week goes by that Sir Charles of Stupid doesn't put his foot in his mouth, either blaming black people for police violence, dealing in respectability politics, or just plain absolving white people for every racist thing they say and do. And white people are the last ones to be accusing anybody of playing race cards. The NBA is run exclusively by white men. The team owners are almost exclusively white. The general managers are all white. Nearly all the head coaches are white. The coaching staff, the PR staff, the legal teams, the sponsors, the TV commentators and sports writers, the cheerleaders, the agents, the training staff, the referees. Out of the tens of thousands of people who work directly for or around the NBA, about the only black people there are the ball players themselves. And yet Larry Birdbrain had the gall to say that he wanted affirmative action in the NBA because he didn't think that there were enough white guys on the court. If we're going to discuss race cards, we can start with that stupidity, though I doubt this washed-up has-been Barkley will ever broach the subject. No wonder he was pitching Old Spice back in the day, because he sure does stink. And exactly what pithy insights does this barely verbal, knuckle-dragging clown have to offer anyway? Granted, the intelligence for the audience of TNT falls somewhere between California stoners and Deliverance rejects, but a few of them are bound to have an IQ higher than their shoe size. They just might be expecting something halfway intelligent to be said. Well, I for one won't be holding my breath, nor will I bother to watch. Sure, we could speculate on what type of black bashing is bound to take place, but we've seen this show before, and we already know the plot. The people promoting this crap claim that the show will challenge the status quo, but we all know that's just code for reinforce what white people already believe, regardless of what the facts clearly are. The audience that's dumb enough to tune in for this mumble-mouthed chump on a weekly basis isn't smart enough to defend their views in the first place. Might as well suck up to them. That's about all they're good for. Now, don't have any illusions about this being the start of a trend. Billionaire media companies have plenty of cash to throw away on propaganda crap like this. And this isn't some step up the ladder for Barkley either. For coons, there's only one rung of the ladder, the bottom. Coonsville is only a stop on the coon train's regular route to oblivion. It's not that they think 6 episodes for Barkley is enough, it's that 6 episodes is all they can stand to look at him. I, for one, take this as equal parts good and bad. The bad is obvious. But the good is that this confirms that the beating we've been giving coons like Barkley online has reached him and his white handlers. From Corey Holcomb to Tariq Nasheed to Jason Black to Willie D. We've been damaging the little sellout and his bosses know it. This isn't them defending him, it's them using him as their crash dummy so he can say some really outlandish coonish stuff, and they can claim that he was only speaking for himself and that they had nothing to do with it. This is going to be the media equivalent of throwing a rock and hiding your hands. Propaganda is a vital tool of societal control. Its greatest advantage is that its consistency of use. You can use it the exact same way against foreign enemies as you do against your own native population, and since you're doing the same thing, the native population won't readily see that you're using covert means of manipulation against them now. And when you control the media itself, they have no way of figuring it out. The political purpose of propaganda is to manipulate others through misdirection. If your target is external, you try to demonize them in the eyes of others so that you can get support to attack them. If the target is internal, then you use propaganda to turn the general public against them. You can even use it directly against domestic targets by tampering with their internal politics in order to undermine them. Propaganda is a means to an end, not an end unto itself. To put something like this out there will give the dominant society some cheap thrills, but it accomplishes nothing, though the very fact that they feel compelled to even pull this stunt speaks volumes. Don't fear propaganda. Understand it. Once you understand propaganda and its uses, you realize it's not all that different than any other form of communication. Propaganda is a two-way street. You learn to analyze it, and it will tell you a great deal about whomever is trying to use it. The way it's used and to what extent reveals what they are thinking. And how blatant the propaganda is depends upon how threatened the group using the propaganda feels. If the dominant society feels secure, like their position is unassailable, then the propaganda and its intensity will be light. On the other hand, if elements arise that make them feel pressured and threatened, then you better expect them to go all out. This isn't the next phase of buck-dancing Barkley's career. This is the beginning of the end, because a coon is only useful to the extent that whites can tolerate him, and that always runs out. Coons psychologically masturbate white supremacists. They make the bigots feel better about their barbarity by being the token whipping boy who they can always point to and say, "Hey, that black guy over there who we pay to read our scripted talking points says that it's all black people's fault, so you can't call us racist." White people already give themselves permission to be bigots. Coons just make it where they can feel even better about what they've already decided to do. Never underestimate the value of psychological masturbation to the dominant society, bestowing rhetorical innocence on bastards who they know are guilty as sin. With the opposition mounting in the streets and online, the white supremacists realize they've painted themselves into a corner. Thanks to their total control of the prosecutors and the courts and their absolute dominance of the media, they can rig some trials to let race soldiers go, though even they see that they've won a few battles, but are now starting to lose the war. Trotting out a fool like Charles the Coon is unique in that they've never tried to give their chosen step-and-fetchits a platform like this before. Putting sellout mouthpieces like J.C. Watts or Alan Keyes out there is one thing. Putting Don Lemon on the air to buck dance for you in an educated voice is one thing. But to put a coon out there betrays a particular frustration with the growing voice of the new black media, if not outright desperation of it. They played the short game, while we've been playing the long game. And moves like this show that they're still playing the short game. This fight isn't about winning a trial, and it's not about winning today's news cycle either. It's not about who can carpet bomb the most people with their talking points. This is about taking territory, starting with mind share. Since the white supremacists in the media already own all the media real estate, the only change that can possibly take place is for them to lose ground. Slowly that change has been taking place. People are hearing a voice other than theirs, and they're listening. The white media's playbook simply isn't working for them. Not this time, and they don't understand it. They're losing control of the narrative, and this panic runs through CNN as much as Fox News. For those of you who doubted whether efforts like ours were having any impact, now you have your proof. The white media still has enough surplus cash on hand to pluck some useful idiot from obscurity like Issa Rae and give them a show, but whatever feel-good value such displays of whimsy might have had in the past isn't worth it today. On a long enough timeline, coonery and bedwenching won't be the business, no matter how slick the production values. But the white media doesn't have any other play, and they simply cannot change. This is all they have. This latest stunt is different in form, though not in character, from the pitiful show ESPN gave Stephen Smith back in the day, as if this screeching clown could actually hold an audience solo for an hour every week. But the white media's not the only ones whose desperation is showing. The Coons are also on a sinking ship with nowhere to turn. Dead-enders like Stacey Dash and Raven Simone are at the end of their rope, and they're realizing that the rope was a noose. Educated Coons, bedwenches, and sellouts who used to be regular fixtures of cable's so-called news are now finding themselves in the unemployment line. Obama is about to lose his job, and so are they. These people are desperate for a gig on TV, so expect to see the cooning kick into overdrive. The largesse they previously got from their white benefactors has run out. They hope by spitting in black people's faces, they'll prove to the white media that they're willing to whore themselves to whatever degree they have to, and are still worthy of getting a paycheck from some white media company. And it's slowly dawning on them that cooning is indeed a career path that doesn't come with a retirement plan. It only comes with a pink slip. Coons don't get their job by being smart. They don't get it by being talented. They get their jobs because they're willing to tell the basest of lies with a smile on their faces. So let TNT put Charles the Coon out there. Let him regurgitate the pre-canned talking points his white masters give to him. That's his job, after all. He never got an NBA ring. He's not smart enough to coach a team, not business savvy enough to manage a team, much less buy one. About all he has is his TV job. Seriously, other than his regular annoying comments on TNT, what reason on earth would we even have to think about Charles Barkley? It's not like he can write a book. If he ever tried, he'd be the only person in human history to have written more books than he's read. He has no endorsements to speak of, and as for television, it's either TNT or be a guest on a celebrity game show. Michael Jordan, at least, is a legend, and while he's been an utter disgrace off the court, he became immortal while on it. Buck-dancing Barkley, on the other hand, is nothing more than the answer to a Trivial Pursuit question now. Barkley and the rest of the sellouts are playing the Coon card. It's the last resort of the Sambo who's run out of options. They'll try to convince themselves that a loser like Barkley getting a show means something, that if the networks are willing to throw away money on a clown like him, surely the other Coons can get a primetime show too. He will function as hope for the hopeless. But the truth is, none of them are going anywhere now, because white supremacy is a con, and their propaganda is a lie. It doesn't reflect reality. It only reflects white supremacy's sick thirst for power, and the perverted lies they've tried to convince themselves of to justify what they've done in its pursuit. Charles Barkley has already tried cross-dressing. Perhaps a sex change is next, but whatever stupidity that he's going to have following this, you can rest assured that his white benefactors will be the only ones who believe that even one iota of it is genuine.